So today I'd like to talk about charter schools in America. There are a lot of misconceptions surrounding charter schools, even though they've existed in our country for over 20 years. Over 40 states and the District of Columbia have charter school laws in place. The first state to have charter schools was Minnesota in 1991. Now each state will have varying degrees of these chartering laws, dictating how many schools can exist in a certain radius and how many can open in a given year. But before we talk about charter schools, I just want to go over and make sure that you understand what a traditional school district looks like. So most districts will have a central office that will oversee all of the schools that are underneath that district. So the green triangles are elementary schools, the red circles are middle schools, and the blue rectangles are our high schools. So this is a fair-sized district. My district, when I grew up, had 2 elementary schools and a high school, not even a middle school. So they can vary in size. And in fact, the New York City Department of Education is the largest school district with 1,700 schools. So their district actually caters to 1.1 million students, which is massive. So getting to charters, what can happen is parents, teachers, and community leaders will get together and think to themselves, you know what, we can probably do things better than this one school. So they organize their thoughts and create a document called a charter. Now again, this varies state by state, but there are different boards that will approve the charter and grant them the ability to either, 1, build a school from scratch, which is rare and expensive, or take one existing traditional school and turn it into a charter school. Now this is the most common way. So we can see that little triangle was turned into a charter triangle. Sometimes charter school companies will come in and be hired by these groups of teachers and parents to run the school for them. So let's talk about the money side of it. Charter schools are public schools. They are paid for by taxpayer money. They are not private. And part of the ways that states determine the amount of money public schools get is by the average daily attendance. Now, ADA is calculated based on every student within the district. And to better show you this example, I'll create 2 students. We have Susie, beautiful Susie with her bright red hair, who has a perfect attendance record. And then we have Billy, his bright blue hair, who has a not so perfect attendance record. Maybe he's sick, or his family just likes taking vacations a lot. So their school is open 180 days out of the year. And the way that we calculate ADA is by taking the days they attended school and divide that by the days that the school itself was open. So Susie with her perfect attendance is 180 divided by 180, which equals 1 ADA. And Billy only went to school 156 days out of 180, making his ADA 0.86. Happy, sad. Now, it varies from state to state, but money is allocated per student. And for this example, let's just say that it's $4,789. Now, for every student, the state grants this to the district in order to take care of their educational needs, and also to pay for supplies and electricity and everything else that's involved. So to look at how much money Susie brought into the school, obviously 1 times $4,789 is the full amount. But Billy, with all of his days missed, is 0.86 times the full amount, which equals $4,111. And this might seem small to you, but in a district of 100,000 students, which is similar to that in San Antonio, Texas, the money really does add up. When you have a lot of students missing school, that's missing funds. So if an entire school was just a school full of Susies, they earn $478,900,000 towards the education of their students. Now, if everybody is like Billy, then they earn $411,900,000 making that a difference of $67 million, just because a few students missed school. Now, this is also the reason why schools have 2-hour delays and early dismissals, which again is something that I had to deal with a lot living in a snowy area. The state requires students to attend school for a certain amount of time in order to qualify for ADA, otherwise the school has to make up the entire day. And this is also the reason why students have to present a doctor's slip for any sickness that they've missed, because the school can write off their absence if it's properly documented. Now, this is an example of what can happen in a neighborhood when a charter school opens up near public schools. Now, obviously, there are a certain amount of students that can attend either of these schools, so one is going to lose some for the other. A lot of charter companies will come in and advertise heavily trying to draw students into a new charter school, and a lot of parents think that the charter school will offer their students a better education and will do everything that they can to get them into that charter school. And again, remember, these charter schools are public and are entitled to public money. Now, the ADA money that is assigned to each student will be granted to whatever school they attend at the time that that money is distributed. So when a student goes from a public school to a charter school, and the funding is granted, the charter school receives that money for that academic year. The money isn't on a pro rata basis, so what happens is sometimes these students will attend a charter school, the charter school will earn a bunch of money off of these new students, and they'll realize that, oh, wait, a few of these students really aren't very high performing, and since everything in our education system is based off of test scores, they have ways of casually mentioning and gently pushing these students back out the door towards the public school that they came from. So here's the problem. These quote-unquote lower-performing students then return to their original public school without any money to pay for their education. The school is then inadequately funded, which results in music and art programs being cut, new teachers being let go, and retiring teachers' positions not being filled, which then increases the class sizes. And that last bit that got cut off is the overall funding is decreased. And this is something that experts refer to as churn. It's taking public school students, moving them to charter schools, they drop their ADA money, and then the charter schools gently kick them back out the door to the public school, which is now in a worse state, leaving the charter school in an even better state. Now, the real problem becomes apparent when it comes around to testing season. Now, everything in our education system is linked to testing, and especially with charter schools that run the risk of being shut down or having their charter revoked by the body that granted it to them, a lot of their performance is based off of these test scores. Which school do you think has the better chance of performing well on these standardized tests? The charter school that has higher performing students with more money to pay for their education that they've cherry-picked from the surrounding area? Or the traditional public school that now has lower testing students with less funding and is required by law to educate every student regardless of ability? Now, this is why some teachers get really worked up over the idea of performance-based pay, because you can see there are a lot of factors that are at work.
So that's just one small problem concerning charter schools versus traditional schools. There are a lot of issues that come up, particularly with the larger companies that come in and set up shop, as opposed to the individual run schools that teachers and parents kind of get together and create themselves. One of the biggest pet peeves that I have is a major corporation that's placed out of state, funded by people who I don't entirely agree with their ideologies, them coming in and receiving our taxpayer money, so the ADA money is collected from local taxpayers. They then take it, churn it all up in their corporate structure, and spit it back out to us in the form of advertising. And if you live in a state like I do, Pennsylvania, which has loads of charter schools and online charter schools, which is a completely different beast, you will see these advertisements everywhere. They'll be on billboards, you'll see them several times a night watching TV, and heaven forbid you actually go look any of these schools up online like I do for my research, because you'll have just banner ads all over the place everywhere you look. They use so much money for advertising because that's how they make money. They make money by bringing students in as much as they can. And if you look at a lot of the statistics for these schools, you'll see that they'll pull in just as many kids as they then spit back out at the end of the year. So it's just this constant churn, and it's really sad. What's the worst part about it is at the very best, most of these schools perform equal to the counterparts, the traditional counterparts in the neighborhood. It's not even like they are these bastions of educational talent and success. It's a con, basically, and it drives me crazy. And this is my small attempt to get people to understand just a little bit of what's going on with charter schools. So I thank you. Hopefully there will be more of these videos to come. You can always check out my website, which is honestpracticum.com. Follow me on Twitter, I update every day, and on Facebook. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon. Bye.